Emergency at 30,000 feet, a captain's tale of heroism in the skies. It was an ordinary flight, or so Captain Alex Harris thought as he settled into the cockpit of his Boeing 737, soaring above the clouds at 30,000 feet. His co-pilot, Sarah, was running through the pre-flight checklist, and everything seemed calm. The passengers below were unaware of the storm they were about to face, both literal and metaphorical. The flight had been smooth for the first few hours. The sky was clear, the air calm. Alex exchanged a few words with Sarah, as they often did to pass the time. They discussed the best places to eat in their destination city, shared stories from past flights, and laughed at some of the more humorous passenger encounters. But then, out of nowhere, the plane lurched, followed by a sharp, unsettling noise from the engines. Alex's instincts kicked in, and he grabbed the controls. The sound came again, louder this time. His heart raced as he glanced at the monitors. One of the engines was malfunctioning. "Sarah, take over the radio. Get a hold of ATC," Alex said, his voice calm despite the adrenaline pumping through his veins. "I need to focus on stabilizing the plane." Sarah quickly complied, communicating with air traffic control as Alex scanned the situation. The malfunction wasn't just a minor issue, it was severe. The engine was losing power rapidly, and if they didn't act quickly, the consequences could be catastrophic. But panic wasn't an option. He'd been trained for emergencies like this. It was time to put his skills to the test. "Mayday, mayday, mayday. This is Flight 203. Experiencing an engine failure at 30,000 feet. We need an emergency landing," Alex declared calmly over the radio. "Roger that, Flight 203. We are redirecting you to the nearest airport. Maintain altitude and prepare for a controlled descent," came the reassuring voice from air traffic control. But Alex knew the situation was far from simple. They still had to descend safely, and the malfunctioning engine would make it more challenging to navigate the skies. The plane was drifting slightly to the left, and it was becoming harder to maintain altitude. His mind raced through the checklist of emergency procedures. He needed to maintain control, and quickly. "Sarah, grab the emergency checklist. We're going to have to shut down the other engine to maintain balance," Alex said, his voice steady, though his mind was moving at lightning speed. As Sarah scrambled to locate the correct procedure, Alex adjusted his throttle to reduce the drag on the good engine, carefully balancing the plane's descent. He had been in tense situations before, but this was different. This was a battle for control at 30,000 feet. Minutes felt like hours as they glided over vast stretches of ocean, with nothing but the roar of the wind and the faint hum of the remaining engine. Alex's mind focused entirely on the aircraft, every instinct honed by years of experience, guiding him through the harrowing moments. The cockpit became his world. There was no room for fear, only the cold, clear focus of a pilot fighting for his passengers' lives. "Altitude's holding steady at 15,000 feet, Sarah reported, her voice filled with both concern and respect. Alex gave a slight nod, still glued to the controls. They were making progress, but it wasn't enough. They needed to get down safely. As they neared the emergency landing site, a small airport on the edge of a coastal city, Alex communicated with the ground crew, prepping them for a one-engine landing. "Prepare for an emergency landing," he said. "One engine down, but we'll make it." The approach was nerve-wracking. The aircraft was responding slower than usual, and every minute felt like an eternity. The runway was coming into view, and Alex was inching closer to the critical moment. He would have to land the plane with the remaining engine still running. He glanced at Sarah, who was nervously monitoring the speed and altitude. He gave her a reassuring smile. They had worked together countless times before, but today would test them like never before. "Here we go," Alex muttered to himself as he aligned the plane with the runway. The descent was smooth, but as they neared the ground, the final flare, the maneuver that levels the plane just before touching down, was critical. The malfunctioning engine had made the plane sluggish, and Alex knew the margin for error was razor thin. With a gentle but precise hand, Alex eased the plane toward the tarmac. The wheels hit the ground with a soft thud, and the plane slowed to a safe stop. Cheers erupted from the passengers below as the plane came to a complete halt. Alex and Sarah sat silently in the cockpit for a moment, taking in the weight of the situation. They had made it. It had been a battle against time, a test of skill and nerves at 30,000 feet, but Captain Alex Harris had done what he was trained to do. He had saved the lives of everyone on board.